The bus dropped me off 15 miles outside of Abilene, Texas, right where the asphalt cracked into dirt and the wind carried a dry, lonely whistle. I had my duffel bag, a half-empty bottle of water, and the kind of desperation that makes a man take any job that pays in cash. The ad I'd answered was short and strange. Ranch hand needed. Must respect one rule, room and board included. I didn't ask questions. When you've been running from debts, old mistakes, and memories that burn worse than whiskey, rules don't scare you much. The ranch was miles of rusted fences, lowing cattle, and a wide, open silence that felt heavier than the Texas sun. When I finally saw the place, a sprawling old ranch house with fading white, paint and an ancient windmill creaking in the distance, I half expected no one to be there. But the front porch light was on, even though it was barely dusk. A woman stepped out before I could knock. She wore a dusty denim jacket, a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed her face, and a revolver on her hip. "You the fella from the ad?" she asked. Her voice was calm, low, like she'd been talking to the wind her whole life. "Yes, ma'am. Name's Luke. Luke Carter." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "I'm Mrs. Whitlow. This here's my ranch. You'll find it quiet, but hard work keeps it peaceful." I nodded. "That's fine by me. I'm used to quiet." "You'll get along then," she said. "Just remember the rule." That caught my attention. "The rule?" Her eyes met mine, gray, cold, and sharp as a blade. "After dark, you don't go outside. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see through the window, you stay inside till sunrise. Understand?" It sounded like something from a ghost story, but she wasn't smiling. I gave a half laugh. "Coyotes?" "Something like that," she said softly. Then she turned and walked back inside. That night, I lay on the narrow bed in the small ranch hand's room she'd shown me. The walls were old pine, the window faced out toward the pasture, and the floorboards creaked like they had secrets to tell. I'd worked on ranches before, this one felt different. The silence was unnatural, thick enough to press against my ears. Even the cattle outside were quiet. At around midnight, I woke up to a sound, a deep, slow thud, like something heavy stepping through the field. I thought it was just my mind playing tricks, until I heard the fence groan. The cows started lowing nervously, and I saw flickers of movement in the fog outside the window. I sat up, trying to shake the sleep from my eyes. Something was moving near the far fence line, tall, way too tall. For a moment, I thought it was a tree swaying, but then it bent down. The motion was wrong, jerky, unnatural. And then I saw the faint glint of eyes. I froze. The rule came back to me in her cold voice. "Don't go outside after dark." Whatever it was watching the cattle, or maybe watching the house. I couldn't tell. It stood there, for a few seconds, then moved away, almost gliding through the fog. The sound faded, and the night went still again. I didn't sleep after that. At sunrise, Mrs. Whitlow was already at the table drinking coffee when I came down. She didn't ask if I'd heard anything and didn't need to. The look on my face probably told her enough. "So you heard it," she said simply. "I saw something," I admitted. "Out by the fence. It was tall. I don't know what it was." She stared out the window, her jaw tight. "You'll see more of it if you stay long enough." "That's why the rule's there. You break it, you don't come back." "What is it?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "This land's old," she said finally. "Older than Texas. My husband used to say some parts of it were never meant to be tamed. There's things out there that claim the night, always have." Her husband, the way she said it, I could tell he wasn't around anymore. I tried to shrug it off, tell myself it was just some old superstition. But the way she looked at me, like a person who'd seen the rule broken, made it hard to dismiss. The days passed slow and hot. I fixed fences, fed cattle, oiled the windmill, and kept to myself. The work was honest, the pay was fair, and the nights were quiet, at least until the sun dipped below the hills. Then the fog would roll in, thick and white, and the ranch would turn into a different world. Every night, like clockwork, Mrs. Whitlow locked every door and window. She'd light a single lantern in the main room and sit there reading her Bible until dawn. I'd sometimes hear things outside, whispering wind that wasn't wind, hoofbeats that stopped too suddenly, the sound of something brushing against the siding. Once I swear I heard a voice call my name. The third night, curiosity got the better of me. I peeked through the window against her warning. The fog was alive, shifting like it breathed. And out near the barn, I saw it again. Tall, lean, black against the gray. Its arms were too long, and when it turned its head, I felt cold all the way to my bones. It didn't move like a man. It folded forward, joints bending in ways that weren't human. The cows were huddled at the far end of the pen, trembling. I shut the curtain fast, heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. The next morning, Mrs. Whitlow asked one question while I was saddling up the horse. "You looked out, didn't you?" I hesitated. Yeah. She didn't scold me, didn't raise her voice. She just said, "Then it knows you now." That chilled me worse than anything I'd seen. Days turned into a blur of sweat, dust, and unease. I started noticing things during daylight, too. Hoof prints that led nowhere. Scratches on the barn door higher than any man could reach. One afternoon, I found a dead calf near the fence line. No blood, no sign of a struggle. Just two perfect holes in its chest like something had drained it. I told her what I found. She only nodded. Happened before. Will happen again. Just bury it deep, away from the herd. I wanted to leave. Every sane part of me screamed to pack my things and hitch a ride back to town. But something kept me there, curiosity, maybe pride. Or maybe it was because every time I looked at that woman, sitting alone on her porch, I saw a kind of strength that didn't come from fearlessness, but from living with fear every single night and refusing to run. That night I couldn't help myself. I waited until she'd gone to her room, then crept to the window again. The fog was thicker than ever, rolling like a white sea. I saw shapes moving, more than one this time. 3, maybe 4 of them, tall and gliding, silent as shadows. They circled the house. My skin crawled. Then I saw something I'll never forget. One of them bent down to the window, and for a split second, its face was there, inches from mine, pale, hollow, with black eyes that had no bottom. It smiled, a slow, cracking grin that didn't belong on anything living. I stumbled back, hit the chair, and the crash echoed through the house. Mrs. Whitlow came running, gun in hand. "What did you do?" she hissed. I looked. She cursed under her breath and dragged me into the hallway, slamming the shutters and pulling me away from the windows. "You brought it close!" "You never look, never." We sat there till morning, listening to it pace outside, dragging long fingers across the wood. When dawn came, I stepped outside, shaken but alive. The fog had vanished. The air smelled like wet dirt and something rotten. There were footprints, long, narrow, inhuman, circling the house. I turned to Mrs. Whitlow. "I'm leaving today." She nodded. "You can try. But if you've seen its face, it doesn't forget you." I laughed nervously, trying to pretend I didn't believe her. But as I started down the dirt road, I could feel something in the air, like being watched. And when I reached the fence at the edge of the property, I saw it again, far off, standing still as a statue, head tilted toward me. I didn't sleep that night, even miles away at the motel. Because every time I closed my eyes, I could still hear the slow, dragging sound outside the window. It knew me now. Didn't sleep for 3 days after. I left the Whitlow Ranch. I checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of Abilene. Room number 7, where the wallpaper peeled like old skin in the air. Conditioner hummed a broken tune. But no matter how far I tried to run, I kept hearing it, the slow dragging sound, like footsteps following from somewhere just out of sight. I told myself it was just paranoia, that the isolation of the ranch had gotten under my skin. But when I looked in the bathroom mirror that first morning and saw muddy fingerprints on the window from the outside of the second-floor room, I knew I wasn't free. I called Mrs. Whitlow that same afternoon. The line rang 6 times before her voice came through, tired and distant. "You shouldn't have called me," she said. "It's following me," I whispered. "I see shadows. I hear it at night." "What is that thing?" There was a long silence. Then she said softly, "You need to come back." "Back? Are you out of your mind?" "I'm trying to get away from that thing." "You can't get away," she said flatly. "Once you've seen it, it marks you. The only place it can't cross is this land. My husband figured that out before it took him. If you stay out there, it'll get you. If you come back, you might live." Then the line went dead. That night I dreamed of the ranch, the fog rolling over the fields like a living thing, the cattle standing still, their eyes reflecting the shape of something huge moving behind them, and her, Mrs. Whitlow, standing on the porch, staring into the darkness, holding that old revolver with both hands. When I woke up, the sheets were damp with sweat, and my window was wide open. There were footprints on the carpet. I packed my bag and hit the road before dawn. The drive back took 4 hours, though it felt like days. The closer I got, the heavier the air became, thick, humming, charged with something ancient. The windmill came into view first, its blades spinning slow and lazy, then the house. The light was on in the window. She opened the door before I could knock. "You came," she said, almost relieved.
"Didn't have a choice," I muttered.
"You never do," she replied. "Once it knows you, it waits for you to come home." I frowned. "What is it exactly?" She led me to the kitchen table. The same Bible lay open, the pages yellowed and marked with old notes. My husband used to call it the Watcher. It's older than the ranch, older than any fence we ever built. He said this land was once a burial, ground for something the first settlers found and couldn't destroy. They built their fences around it, prayed over it, fed it what it wanted. "Fed it?" I asked, my voice low. She looked me dead in the eyes. "Cattle, mostly. Sometimes worse." I felt my stomach drop. "And the rule?" "The rule keeps us alive," she said. "It only walks at night, drawn to sound, light, or anyone foolish enough to meet its gaze. If you stay inside, you're safe. If you look out, you invite it closer. The more you see, the more it sees you." I rubbed my temples. "So now what? I just stay locked inside forever?" She shook her head. "It doesn't stop until it's fed. Tonight it'll come again. But this time we're not hiding." We spent the rest of the day preparing. She handed me her husband's old rifle. Heavy, scratched, loaded with silver-tipped rounds. "Won't kill it," she said, "but it hurts it long enough to drive it back." By sundown, the air was still. Even the cicadas had gone quiet. We boarded up the windows, lit the lantern, and waited. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. And then the fog rolled in. It came like a wave, swallowing the pasture, curling against the house, carrying the stench of rot and earth. The cattle started to moan, deep, low, terrified sounds that made the hairs on my neck stand up. Then came the footsteps, slow, heavy, each one shaking the ground, closer, closer, until the floorboards began to creak under the vibration. Mrs. Whitlow cocked her revolver. "Stay behind me," she said. I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed to hide, but I stayed. The back door rattled once, twice, then silence. We waited. And then a hand, long, black, with fingers like broken branches, slid over the window pane. Dragging across the glass, I froze. It lingered there for a moment, pressing against the wood like it could sense us through it. Mrs. Whitlow whispered, "Don't move." The hand withdrew. The air went still again. Then a bang. The sound of the barn door slamming open. She cursed under her breath and ran for the porch, gun raised. "Stay here." I didn't. I followed her into the fog, the rifle clutched tight in my hands. The barn was open, the cattle scattering in all directions, their eyes wild. And there, standing in the doorway, was the Watcher. It was taller than I remembered, its limbs impossibly thin, its body like smoke wrapped in skin. Its head turned toward us, eyes glowing faintly like dying embers. She fired first. The bullet hit its chest and the thing screamed. Not like a man, like metal tearing, like the sky splitting in half. I fired next, hitting its shoulder. The thing stumbled back but didn't fall. It turned its gaze on me, and for a second I couldn't breathe. Images flashed through my head, the land, the blood, the fence lines, all soaked in shadow. I saw people, hundreds of them, feeding it through the centuries, keeping it alive, binding themselves to it. When I came to, I was on my knees. The Watcher loomed over me, its face inches away. The stench was unbearable, like decay and rain-soaked dirt. Its voice crawled into my mind. It was her rule, not mine. A gunshot split the air. The creature screamed again, its form unraveling like mist in the wind. Mrs. Whitlow had shot it point blank in the head. "Get inside!" she shouted. We ran, slamming the door behind us. The fog beat against the walls like a storm. "It won't stop," she said, reloading with shaking hands. "It'll come until one of us is gone." Hours blurred. The lantern flickered low. I could hear it outside circling the house, dragging its claws across the siding, whispering words I couldn't understand. Then the whisper changed. It started calling my name. "Luke." The voice was hers, Mrs. Whitlow's voice. I turned and she was standing behind me, eyes wide. "Don't listen," she said. "That's not me." But the voice was everywhere, outside, inside, echoing in my skull. I pressed my hands to my ears, shaking. "What does it want from me?" She looked down. It wants a keeper. Before I could ask what she meant, the front door exploded inward. The watcher stood in the doorway, its body half shadow, half flesh. The lantern shattered, plunging the room into darkness. Gunfire, screams, the world spun. I fired until the rifle clicked empty. When I came to, the fog was gone. The house was quiet. Mrs. Whitlow lay on the floor, pale and still, eyes open but empty. Her revolver was still smoking. I stumbled outside. Dawn was breaking, the first light of morning cutting through the mist. The fields were empty, no cattle, no creature, just silence. And then I saw it. Out near the fence line, something was standing there. Still. Watching. I should have left. I should have run. But instead I walked toward it, step by step, until I stood right where it had stood all those nights. The earth was warm beneath my boots, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. The wind whispered her voice. Someone has to keep the rule. I looked back at the house, her house, and somehow I understood. The watcher didn't die. It didn't leave. It only traded names, and now it had mine.